G'day Earthlings, Dr. Rank here, and welcome to Gaming Legends, the show where proportions are of less importance than execution. Crash Bandicoot has visited many different dimensions over the years. The 10th dimension, the Snacks dimension, the Eggipus dimension. But before all of that, he took a magical journey to the 2nd dimension. Can you beat Crash Bandicoot XS without spinning? Yes, that is what it's called, and I will not be told otherwise. Our goal is to reach the final boss from a new save file while using the spin attack as few times as possible. And as a bonus challenge, we'll be going for the highest possible completion percentage, which means as many gems and gold relics as we can muster. Yes, they have to be gold this time. Sapphire is literally worthless. With the rules set, there's a elephant in the room that I need to address. You see, in order to play video games, you need the ability to play video games. Crash Bandicoot XS was released for the Game Boy Advance in 2002, and nothing else since. It was absent from the 3DS and Wii U's Virtual Console libraries, and the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack still doesn't have it at the time of this recording. Though it sure would be nice. The only official way to play this game is with the original cartridge. Of course, I could just use an emulator like I did for the Pokémon gag in the Crash 3 video, but I prefer to play challenge runs on official hardware with an official release. For the last 20 years, the only systems that could natively run GBA carts were the Game Boy Advance and its variants, the original Nintendo DS, and the Nintendo DS Lite, none of which are viable for this video. These systems have no official way to record or stream themselves, and finding a DS Lite with a capture card in 2023 is way more trouble than it's worth. And if I don't have video evidence of a spinless run, did it really happen? But there is one other 20-year-old solution, the Game Boy Player, a peripheral for the Nintendo GameCube that allows GBA cartridges to be played on the TV. We can't use it! I never owned a GameCube either because I still have my original Wii, making it redundant. While the Wii is backwards compatible with most GameCube hardware, including the Game Boy Player disc, the Game Boy Player itself has nowhere to plug in. And even if I did have one, you still need a TV to use it, which kinda defeats the purpose of a handheld Crash game. Not to mention that my crappy HDMI converter would dilute the video quality on top of the player's already terrible emulation image. Needless to say, this presents a problem, and modern problems require modern solutions. Fortunately, December 13th, 2021 saw the release of the Analog Pocket, a modern handheld device that can play the original cartridges for all Game Boy systems, including the GBA. And on September 4th, 2023, after an 8-month delay, it finally arrived at my doorstep. In addition to providing one of the best looking handheld screens of all time, the Pocket has its own dock that allows for HDMI output and controller support, making it super convenient to record with. There is also a save state function built in, but since that's not possible on original hardware, I won't be using it. So, without further ado, let the run finally begin. Jungle Jam gives us a nice, relaxing introduction. All of Crash's standard moves are still here, meaning we can still break boxes by jumping on them, sliding, or belly flopping. Without a Z-axis though, every obstacle becomes much more problematic. This piranha plant, for example, sits at the top of a narrow staircase, making it near impossible to kill safely. Thankfully, a single Aku Aku mask is all we need to get past him and reach the crystal. Speaking of Aku Aku, Crash XS has an important feature that hasn't been in the console game since the PS1. The number of masks Crash has is remembered on your save file. If you need extra masks for a specific level and lose them, you can just reload your save instead of going through an entire extra level to get them back. And while not required, they'll certainly be helpful in Shipwrecked. Underwater levels only give us 2 actions, spinning, which is illegal, and fast kicking, which is not an attack. And unlike a certain other game with slightly more dimensions, Crash XS does not let you break boxes with a fast kick. The gems for these levels are impossible, and we don't have any way to set checkpoints. Thankfully, neither the crystal nor the gold relic pose any major threat. Temple of Boom has no major roadblocks, but it does have 2 Aku Aku crates and is my personal recommended level for mask farming. It's also here where I remembered that certain question mark crates in bonus rounds have a random chance of summoning an Aku Aku mask when broken. There is a second gem in this level, but we need the red gem before we can even attempt it. Frostbite Cavern is a snow level, which means we spend the middle third riding Polar. The parts of the level that are on foot aren't very difficult, and neither is Justin Slime. Then we get to the first boss fight. Dingodile has found our one weakness and chosen to fight us underwater. The only way to damage him is to wait for his force field to go down and then spin him. Now normally this would be the part where I tell you about an insane super glitch that lets you skip the entire game, but alas, at the time of Crash XS, Vicarious Visions had yet to hire their colorblind programmer. There's no extra item glitch, no keyboard glitch, no cursed warps, nothing, zilch, nada. We need 3 spins to get past Dingodile, which means... you fail. At least with Dingo gone, we can grab the Super Belly Flop and move on to Warp Room 2. Snow Crash is just as easy as the last snow level, but it also has a second gem that requires the blue gem to access. The blue gem is found in Ruined on a path of iron crates in the sky. Unfortunately, crouch jumps and slide jumps aren't enough to reach that path. Even after we unlock the double jump, the path is seemingly unreachable without using the tornado spin. So it looks like both the blue gem and the Snow Crash hidden gem are impossible. Rocket Racket is a jetpack level, which in this game means rail shooter. The closest thing we have to a spin attack in these levels is dodge rolling with the L and R buttons. It still uses the spin sound effect though, so I'm erring on the side of caution. Fortunately, dodge rolling is completely optional and I barely even use it in casual play. Just Hangin' brings back our other nemesis, Monkey Bars. There are several boxes in the way and Crash is unable to break them. At least not under his own power. There's an Aku Aku crate right before these boxes, which means we can use Aku Aku invincibility to break through them, along with the next few obstacles. This isn't an option in the time trial, however, since you don't get any extra masks prior, making this the first level where the relic is impossible. There is a lab assistant hanging down a bit further ahead, but there is just barely enough space to crawl under him. Sadly, neither gem in this level is possible without the green gem, but that's future Dr. Rank's problem. Shark Attack is another underwater level, but we can safely bob and weave past every single shark. Also, turns out switch crates and nitro switch crates can be triggered just by swimming into them from above. The final section with the eels is a bit of a tight squeeze, but I did eventually manage it. Just barely missed out on the platinum though. Engine is fought using the jetpack, so we can get the double jump basically for free. Snowjob has a few penguins on ice that can be awkward to slide into safely, but nothing major, and Blimp Bonanza is another jetpack level, so it's no issue. Ace of Space has 194 boxes, 55 of which require the yellow gem. Down the Hole has a crate stack with Reinforced on top and TNT in the middle, a task normally overcome with a stationary spin. Belly flopping the stack directly isn't a good idea, but if we do a super belly flop on the slope beside it, we can take out the bottom crate with the shockwave and let gravity do the rest. These nitro crates at the bottom can't be cleared without spinning the crash crate, so you'll either need a damage boost or invincibility. The latter is preferable for the time trial, but not required. The final stretch with Blow Dart Lab Assistance is a bit awkward to get through without getting hit, but it is possible with proper timing. Then there's Sunken Flippin' City. The green gem is located right at the start of this level, but it's inaccessible without hitting a switch crate first. That switch crate is on the other side of an eel-infested tunnel with a 3x3 crate wall blocking the path. You'll need one spin to break the leftmost boxes, but the rest can be taken out by setting off the TNT from the side. Once you get past the eels, swim down, hit the switch crate, and backtrack to the green gem. You'll almost certainly take damage from the eels at least once, so you'll want to enter the level with 2 masks. Shortly after the switch crate is a pair of eels that are, as far as I can tell, absolutely impossible to dodge. The only way past here without spinning is to damage boost through them, which means you'll have to navigate the eel tunnel thrice while taking no more than one hit. One slip up means reloading your save file both to undo the spin and get your masks back. It took me over an hour to do it, but eventually I managed to thread the needle and finish Sunken City with only a single spin, putting us at 4 total. Since we need both masks and spins to finish the level once, doing it a second time for the relic is out of the question. Now that we finally have the green gem, we can go back for the gems in Just Hangin'. The bonus round has another TNT sandwich topped with an arrow crate, but it's nothing a super belly flop can't fix. The green gem path, however, is littered with monkey bars and lab assistants hanging from them. This one can be avoided by taking a detour through the boxes below, but there's one at the start of the route and 2 at the end that are unavoidable. That's 3 required damage boosts, and there's only a single Aku Aku crate in between them. You might think we can just die several times to get extra masks, but the death abuse system on the GBA was designed by a drunk programmer at Vicarious Visions. Normal checkpoints give you a mask after 8 deaths, bonus round checkpoints take 30, and gem paths take all of them. You can only get a mask in a gem path by getting your lives down to 0. And even then, you only get 1 mask. To even have a chance at finishing this path, you need to enter it with 2 masks already, which means finishing the entire level without taking a single hit. Honestly, they should give you an insanely perfect relic for this. Then we have the boss fight against Tiny Tiger. In previous Crash games, Tiny has been vulnerable to every single one of Crash's attacks, but that is not the case with XS. The drunk programmer at Vicarious Visions made Tiny respond to the spin attack and nothing else. Since we can't skip this fight, we need to spin 3 more times, putting our total at 7. Adding insult to injury, we're awarded with the tornado spin afterwards. Start to Finish has a giant stack of nitros at the start. The only way over it is to use the nearby fan to fly over, but this triggers an automatic tornado spin. You'll need to go into the level with at least 1 mask to blow the nitros up with your face. The time trial sadly doesn't give you any masks, so the relic is impossible. There's more fans just after the first checkpoint, but there's just barely enough vertical and horizontal space to jump over them and climb the staircase without triggering them. I was worried the red gem would require the tornado spin to reach, but no, turns out double jumps are perfectly sufficient to get in, grab the gem, and get out. That opens up the red gem path in the Temple of Boom, letting us get the hidden gem. Just make sure to actually, grab it. Final Countdown requires 2 damage boosts. One to get past the nitro stack here, and another to get through these nitros in the bonus round. There are 2 Aku Aku crates near the start of the level, so the time trial doesn't pose any threats. However, the yellow gem isn't quite so accessible. We can just barely reach the first platform with a slide double jump, but the next few jumps are impossible without using the tornado spin. Drip 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 has a tricky stack in the bonus round with reinforced crates on top and TNT at the bottom. Thankfully, if you do a super belly flop on the iron crate in just the right spot, you can break the reinforced crate on the right safely. There's also 2 Aku Aku crates in the bonus round, which is good because you'll need invincibility to clear out all the enemies on the monkey bars. The time trial doesn't give you any masks beforehand though, so no relic for you. No Fly Zone is the final jetpack level and is no more difficult than the others, but Air Supply is extra stinky. There are 3 sets of unavoidable eels in this level, which is 1 more than the number of masks we can take into the level. But for the first set of eels, unavoidable is in quotation marks. Each individual eel's cycle is set once that eel loads in and thus can be manipulated. If you wait for the first eel to bite and retract twice, the shark below will be in just the right position to let you swim straight down and load both of the lower eels at the same time, synchronizing their cycles and granting an opening to swim past them safely. That leaves you with 2 masks left over to get through the rest of the eels. Unfortunately, the path later on is blocked by a series of crate walls. Each spin can only tunnel through a single box at a time, so these 2x2 walls require 2 spins to get through. At least this one has a TNT in the middle, but that's still 5 spins needed to beat this level, or 12 total. Just after the final checkpoint, we need to set off a TNT to clear the path, but first, we need to make it exist. Thankfully, the switch crate is just barely close enough to the wall that we can swim into it from above. Just one more tight squeeze between the eels, and we have officially concluded our swimming lessons. With all 20 crystals in hand, we can take on the final boss, Cortex, who doesn't even let you attack him anyway. Just dupe him into shooting the gems and the speed shoes are yours. With the planet restored to its proper size, the Crash Bandicoot XS spinless run ends with 12 spins. There is one more gem we could get from the Megamix chase, but we can't even attempt that unless we beat Cortex with 100% completion. With those same 12 spins, we've managed to obtain 20 crystals, 4 superpowers, 19 gems, and 15 relics, all gold or better, leaving our completion percentage at 80%. Well, technically 80.56, but the game rounds it down. If you'd like to try this run for yourself, use save states. Please, for the love of God, use save states. I cannot stress enough how awful some of these levels are without them. If you'd rather observe the torture from a distance, you can watch the live stream archives via the link in the description. I do plan on doing N-Tranced as well, but first, I've got some more modern games to cover. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss them. That's all for now, and I will see you down under.